If 2024 was the year of AI, artificial intelligence, I believe 2025 is going to continue that trajectory, highlighting AI and the convergence of other technologies integrating with AI. I believe that we will continue to see the convergence of these technologies, continuing a mega transformation in technology sectors. The technology industry is experiencing a huge transformation. Where there is change, we see opportunity. I know that zeros and ones are not always the glamorous topics to discuss, but I believe that is a shifting society. Welcome to Curry Girl Tech Talk. I am Krystal Curry. Thank you for joining. So that was my prediction about the technology landscape for 2025, continuing its skyrocket to prominence as a big part of 2025. And thus far, it seems that Q1 and Q2 of 2025 have even surpassed my expectations of artificial intelligence. If you've not been watching the technology news, let me inform you that the technology world is in a heated competition for leaders in the AI market. Who's winning? Well, let's get into it. I'm talking tech today about DeepSeek and the global AI battle. Well, there is an all-out technology war as global companies battle for the lead in the AI space. Experts still project that the AI sector remains unquestionably dominated by the United States. But what about the recent rise of Chinese company DeepSeek? Here's the scoop. DeepSeek is China's innovative AI company. Many peg DeepSeek as the Chinese ChatGPT. DeepSeek debuted January 29th, 2025, a date that is said to be relevant as it coincides with the lunar year and marks the end of the Made in China 2025 plan. The Made in China plan was aimed at transitioning China from a manufacturing powerhouse to a global leader in high-tech industries. DeepSeek's rise is sparked by its purchase of the NVIDIA H2O chip. So why is everyone talking about DeepSeek? Well, here is why everyone is talking about DeepSeek. Firstly, DeepSeek was able to match its rivaling competitor OpenAI's ChatGPT performance within a couple of weeks after OpenAI's models were released. Secondly, they spent less for computer power to train the models. And thirdly, they released the models to open source. All right, so why is open source important? For those not so techies, open source means that anyone in the world can download the model, use it, or tweak it. So what do you believe is happening behind the scenes? I don't know about you, but I believe that developers are going to have a field day. They are going to download those models to see how they can, in fact, tweak it and build even better AI models, improve upon it, and even innovate to build completely new interfaces and apps. It's like the ultimate gift for developers. Well, as they are preparing and we brace ourselves for this global competition and even more expansion in the AI space, let me tell you how this ties into what's dominated the news in the last week. All right, so everybody's been talking about it. You must have been living under a rock if you haven't heard about it. But last week, Trump's new tariffs have taken center stage. It's drawing criticism even from the Republican Party and companies alike. So I saw someone had posted online former President Ronald Reagan's take on raising tariffs or reciprocal fees imposed by the U.S. on other countries for trade. Here's a quick review.
As perhaps you've heard, last week I placed new duties on some Japanese products in response to Japan's inability to enforce their trade agreement with us on electronic devices called semiconductors. Now, imposing such tariffs or trade barriers and restrictions of any kind are steps that I am loath to take. And in a moment, I'll mention the sound economic reasons for this. That over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. But the Japanese semiconductors were a special case. We had clear evidence that Japanese companies were engaging in unfair trade practices that violated an agreement between Japan and the United States. We expect our trading partners to live up to their agreements. As I've often said, our commitment to free trade is also a commitment to fair trade. But in imposing these tariffs, we were just trying to deal with a particular problem, not begin a trade war. So next week, I'll be giving Prime Minister Nakasone this same message. We want to continue to work cooperatively on trade problems and want very much to lift these trade restrictions as soon as evidence permits. We want to do this because we feel both Japan and the United States have an obligation to promote the prosperity and economic development that only free trade can bring. Now, that message of free trade is one I conveyed to Canada's leaders a few weeks ago, and it was warmly received there. Indeed, throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. Now, there are sound historical reasons for this. For those of us who lived through the Great Depression, the memory of the suffering it caused is deep and searing. And today, many economic analysts and historians argue that high tariff legislation passed back in that period, called the Smoot-Hawley tariff, greatly deepened the Depression and prevented economic recovery. You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets.
Trump's goal is to incentivize companies to start doing more manufacturing in the United States. But that doesn't mean the tariff hikes will end up working in the long term. So, why is this important to technology sectors? The tariffs conversation highlights the importance of how well and quickly DeepSeek is rising to prominence. Obtaining NVIDIA's H2O chip could possibly edge out competitors like Google and Microsoft if consumers turn to other platforms. There are concerns that they could actually lose their part of the market share. Plus, China is fighting back on tariffs as Trump has increased them to China at a whopping 145%. Reportedly, Beijing has responded with their own increased tariffs on U.S. goods. This has become a huge conversation in the United States, and it affects the tech sectors as well, and even a nightmare for Wall Street. Wall Street, they don't like instability, unpredictability, uncertainty, any of those terms for the stock market. And it seems that the stock market is beginning to reflect that. Businesses and supply chain models depend on reciprocal trade. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, but it's definitely something to watch as some are concerned that this could help Chinese companies move ahead in the AI competition. But wait, let me rewind for a minute. What happened to the ban that Biden administration had imposed for the best AI microprocessors being sold to China in the CHIPS Act? All right, so what happened to the ban that Biden administration had for the best AI microchip processors being sold to China in the CHIPS Act? All right, the CHIPS Act was initiated in the wake of a perceived war between the United States and China as artificial intelligence technology relies heavily on semiconductors. Though the CHIPS Act was received well from chip firms, there was a provision that banned chips from being sold to China. Turns out that NVIDIA H2O chip is the most cutting edge chip that the United States can legally sell to China. It's a critical market and it's said to be superior to any of their own homegrown chips and thought of as a victory for China. And many in the US lament that this helps the Chinese companies move ahead in the AI competition. So it's key to note also that the Chinese government barred its citizens from downloading any alternatives to DeepSeek, including ChatGPT. All right, so some of you may have seen my post about OpenAI's mandate to convert to a for-profit revenue model in order to obtain the full funding amount of their latest capital seed funding raise. It was the $40 billion valuation that had all of us going cha-ching. So, what could the rise of DeepSeek mean for competition with OpenAI? I'm curious as to what the fee structure is going to be going forward, as now there seems to be a free for all in terms of the different GPTs. Many users report using several different ones as they mainly work kind of similar and they have similar features, but some have various highlights of some products over the other in terms of performance or features depending on the task that you're trying to accomplish. For instance, some may use Grammarly for more text things, and then others for generative AI features with pictures and video. So there are many offerings now on the technology landscape, though with huge companies, making strides in this AI space. I believe it's going to be interesting as the US homegrown apps battle for a piece of the AI pie. Finally, in other news, Meta has announced the release of two new AI models with Llama 4. There are Llama 4 Scout and Llama 4 Maverick, which are enabling users to build and personalize their AI experience. Are you all testing out these models? Would you download these beta versions via an experiment to see how well this technology is working? All right, well, let me know what you think at Curry Girl Tech Talk. Let me know how you guys are interfacing with these new AI apps. And also let me know what your thoughts are about the growing prominence of AI. 2025 is actually shaping up to be a lot more, you know, um, competitive and a lot more going on in the AI technology landscape than even I had projected. As I close out this episode, I just want to say, and I'm saying this hesitantly, not to scare anyone, but it's very true that a lot of people think that the next actual war could be fought via technology. Security breaches and fraud is a major part of a theory that people have that the war of technology could have crippling effects. And it's no doubt that any type of technology glitch can totally upset our daily lives, as we know that technology is such an integral part of how we live our day-to-day lives, even in our homes. I know many of you have heard of IoT, the Internet of Things, where our refrigerators, our appliances are even connected to the internet or these huge computerized computer boards. And it's just a scary notion sometimes that any little glitch in technology can totally upend our lives in such a major way. Any IT meltdown can bring such a global halt to our lives. It's just astounding to me, even as a technologist. But this is something to watch, this fallout of how artificial intelligence continues to make a resounding impact across the world. Technology is actually booming right now. There's not anything that doesn't require that space. We constantly are needing people in the technology space, semiconductor space, these chips, these models. Continue to watch this evolving technology landscape continue to grow. All right, that is today's episode of Curry Girl Tech Talk. I am Krystal Curry. Take care.